So is there merit in Rahul Gandhi's criticism that the Prime Minister's image of a strong man, 56-inch ki chhati, India's biggest weakness today? Has the Prime Minister succumbed to Chinese pressure? Is there merit in this criticism, or is there merit in the BJP saying that this is yet another failed attempt to relaunch Rahul Gandhi? Joining me on the show is Supriya Srinath, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Dr. Sambit Patra, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Chief of Staff of the Leh Corps. The General, incidentally, is former Director General of Infantry, and as a young officer, was the first to put India's tricolour on the northernmost point of Siachen Glacier. Dr. Patra, I want to begin by asking you. Rahul Gandhi says the Prime Minister's biggest advantage was that of a strong leader. It helped him win elections, but that is India's biggest weakness today. Has the Prime Minister succumbed to Chinese pressure, Dr. Patra?
See, in fact, while I went through this, I did not want to see the video of Rahul Gandhi, the theatrics and all. But since I went with this debate, I had to visit the video. And towards the end, what Mr. Rahul Gandhi said, that the Prime Minister of India has succumbed. I mean, what kind of blasphemous statement is this? A leader of opposition of India is saying that the Indian Prime Minister has succumbed. Let me tell you, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, your loyalty towards your own country, your patriotism, and in fact your logic is the one which has succumbed. Your political career has succumbed, and that's the reason as to why you're using such kind of words for your Prime Minister. Remember, as far as Mr. Modi is concerned, he's just not my Prime Minister or Bharatiya Janata Party's Prime Minister. He's the Congress Party's spokesperson's Prime Minister, as well as the anchor's Prime Minister, as well as Mr. Rahul Gandhi's Prime Minister. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi confesses to the fact that China is disturbed. China is disturbed because we have a great deal of infrastructure, roads and highways coming along the border. And who is bringing up these roads and highways along the border? Remember Mr. A.K. Antony way back in 2013 while he was addressing the Indian Parliament, he said that the best policy for the Congress Party for the last 70 years was no infrastructure development along the border. No development was the best policy. From no development along the infrastructure to full throttle development along the infrastructure. Does not it say a lot about Mr. Modi? It says that, well, yes, he's a strong Prime Minister, and that has disturbed China and Chinese dispensation. I would conclude by saying that, well, yes, if China is trying to disturb Indians,
the
and the
BJP
Indian Prime
says
Minister,
it's a strong Prime Minister,
in 10
he's
seconds.
building
I'll
infrastructure,
just take 10 seconds to
and
complete.
this...
I can't hear him.
I'll just take 10 seconds to complete, if you wish. Allow me. Just 10 seconds.
Give me a moment.
So that we can
the
go
BJP
to
says Rahul Gandhi is trying to wash the sins of 1962. Give me a moment, Sambit Patra. Let's keep this as a conversation so that we can get more points on both sides. Supriya Srinath, the BJP says Rahul Gandhi is trying to wash the sins of 1962. Sambit Patra quotes A.K. Antony saying the past mentality was don't develop infrastructure along the border, the enemy will use it. This government is doing just the opposite.
Okay, so let's keep rhetoric and all this nonsense aside and let's talk about facts. And because I did not interfere in 2 minutes 20 seconds of Dr. Patra, I hope he won't interfere with mine either, and nor will you. Let's keep the rhetoric aside and let's bust one lie for once and for all. You know, everybody in the BJP, the troll army and the spokespersons keep saying about this infrastructure thing. I want to put something on record, and it's important that the country appreciates it. The border infrastructure development was conceived, funded, and the implementation began under the UPA. Some part of it was completed by the UPA, some part of it has been completed by the Modi government. So let us both take credit where it is duly deserved. Instead of peddling lies once and for all, let us stop lying about it. Lock, stock, barrel, stop lying about national security. Border infrastructure was conceived, funded and implemented by the UPA. It began under the UPA, some part was completed then and now. As far as the statement by Rahul Gandhi ji is concerned, I have just one thing to say, and I completely agree. Mr. Modi is not just the BJP's Prime Minister, he is my Prime Minister, he is your Prime Minister, and he is the country's Prime Minister. Where does the problem start? The problem starts when the BJP cannot remove its blinkers about Rahul Gandhi and appreciate what he is saying. What he's asking today and what he's saying today about the strongman image is an argument, is an opinion, is a concern that many very serious opinion makers have shared that we cannot do foreign policy with an eye on domestic constituents. Mr. Modi's strongman image has pushed him to saying there is nobody inside our territory. Whereas the defense minister 2 days back has said, and I will quote him in Hindi here because it's important for the country to know, जो कुछ भी बातचीत चल रही है, प्रगति हुई है, उससे मामला हल हो जाना चाहिए, कहां तक होगा, उसकी गारंटी मैं नहीं दे सकता हूं. This is a very, very important statement. And I will definitely say one thing. Strong men like to preserve their image. Today, the need of this country is to come out, accept the truth, take the country into confidence and act against China. We were supposed to avenge the martyr of our 20 brave hearts. Nepal is shooting us. Let us please stop saying all of this. Where is Muhtod Jawab? Where is Ladakh? Why are you not a strong man with China, it seems? You want to give Ladakh, you talk about Muhtod Jawab.
Let me bring in General Sanjay Kulkarni. We'll come to Nepal. Nepal is a separate debate. Okay. I will stay on the current issue. Supriya, and I will request you to do the same. General Kulkarni, you have first-hand knowledge of the lay of the land and ground realities. Is there merit, General Kulkarni, in Rahul Gandhi saying that the Prime Minister has succumbed to Chinese pressure?
Gaurav, at the very outset, let me first say I do not belong to any political party. That's the first thing, right? I would speak to you as a veteran. And let me be honest with you, capacity building takes time. Over the years, the military capacity has been built by everybody. There is not one person, not one party which can say that they have contributed to the capacity, that they have not contributed to the capacity. Everybody has contributed. If today everybody is proud of the Indian Army or the armed forces of India, it's primarily because everybody has contributed. What we ought to be grateful is to be provided with a good leadership. And that leadership happens to be there. First thing. Secondly, I said, I think there was some mention of the comprehensive national power, which was referred to as the confluence of systems of forces. I think the military was left out. They spoke about foreign relations, spoke about economy, he spoke about the neighbors, spoke about the bill. Let me tell you, the comprehensive national power, the Chinese maybe 2 steps ahead of us. The expenditure on the armed forces maybe 4 times more than us. But the comprehensive willpower, again I repeat, the comprehensive willpower of this nation is tremendous. There is no requirement. There is no requirement to focus or to hit at any personality. We are a nation. The nation.
General, I ask you a specific question. Rahul Gandhi said Prime Minister succumbed. General.
No.
General, no, Rahul Gandhi said the Prime Minister succumbed to Chinese pressure. You saw what happened at Galwan. You are looking at situation today. Has the Prime Minister succumbed to Chinese pressure?
No. I would say no. It is because we have been able to stand up to China at Galwan. It is at Galwan that the troops have proved that what they are all about, that you realize it today, that the Chinese are on the back foot. They are not on the front foot. They are on the back foot because they have realized the strength. Probably they misunderstood. They may have thought that the Indian army may not, or the armed forces may not. Maybe there is difference of opinion within the country that things might go wrong. It hasn't happened that way. The country stands united. Number 1. Number 2, the armed forces are strong. Then the number 3, Galwan has given them a very strong. The troops over there were not told what they're supposed to do. They did it because they wanted to do it. They felt pride and proud to be part of the armed forces, and they gave a bloody nose to the Chinese. And that is why the Chinese are on the back foot.
Let me bring in Dr. Patra for more on this then. Okay. Rahul Gandhi says the Chinese are sitting in our territory today, tactically strengthening their position, whether at Demchok or Pangong or Galwan. They have a bigger strategic game in mind with Pakistan. He's accused the government of hiding facts. The Congress party is accusing the government of being economical with the truth on the situation vis-a-vis China. Dr. Patra.
So I'll tell you very frankly, what the veteran over here on your channel rightly said was that as far as the real thing is concerned, it is the comprehensive willpower of the country. And remember, the comprehensive willpower of the country stands behind the leadership that is Mr. Modi. And everyone in this country realizes as to how strong Mr. Modi is. Jo bolta hai, wo karta hai. He walks the talk. We have seen the surgical strike, in fact, which was questioned by the Congress party. We had seen the air strike in the past, which was questioned by the Congress party. And now in this issue, when Mr. Rahul Gandhi says, day after day, day after day, he says that. He continues to say that China has occupied our land and our Prime Minister has succumbed. Remember, it's not for the first time. In this video of his, Mr. Rahul Gandhi categorically mentioned that the primary design of China and aim of China is to see to it that Indian Prime Minister appears weak, to attack the Indian Prime Minister. Who is a Prime Minister? Not a person. Prime Minister is the country. And remember, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been assisting the Chinese dispensation in the same. While he today says that the PM has succumbed, yesterday he had said that the Prime Minister darpok hai, dara hua hai. There was a time when he had released a video saying that Prime Minister kahan chupa hua hai. It is not an attack on a man called as Narendra Modi. It is an attack on the Indian military. It is the attack on the Indian leadership. It is an attack on the comprehensive willpower of Indians as such. Prime Minister has succumbed does not mean that the Prime Minister has succumbed and he is not functioning as the Prime Minister. When we say Prime Minister has succumbed, it means India is defeated. And I today strongly decline
you
to
heard
agree
Sambit Patra
with Rahul Gandhi that India has been defeated.
Okay, let me bring in Supriya Srinath to respond to this, because Supriya, it's not just Sambit Patra who says that Rahul Gandhi is towing China's line. J P Nadda too accused Rahul Gandhi of preferring the Chinese narrative. He said that the dynasty wants to weaken India and wants a strong China. Goes back to Doklam, where he said Rahul Gandhi preferred a briefing from the Chinese instead of believing our armed forces. Supriya.
That's a brilliant question you asked me, and I will go into Doklam in just a moment. But before that, I will tell Dr. Sambit Patra and I will tell his political masters that in this country, there is a very alive and kicking democracy. We will ask questions, and you have no nonsensical business to point us in the direction and say that we are assisting China. This is what a responsible opposition is meant to do. You may like a monolithic culture, we don't. We will continue to ask questions, get used to it. Firstly, it is absolute nonsense that they talk about assistance of China. I wonder what they have been doing. But anyways, I'm glad you talked about Doklam, Gaurav Sawant, because in 2017 when Doklam happened, and you have had various national security advisors and defense experts on record to say that we negotiated withdrawal from the face-off point. And as a consequence, China withdrew from the face-off point but continues to have concrete structures and occupation at the Doklam Plateau. And that is faulty. We gave the message of a convincing victory, but China continues to occupy Doklam. Yes, the face-off point has been freed up, and which is exactly why Bhutan finds itself very vulnerable. But nobody in this government is going to ask a question there or answer a question there. I just have a very small point of view to make and a question to ask Dr. Patra. It is absolutely certain that we did not breach our LAC. We were defending our territory. Even on that fateful night of June 15th, Colonel Santosh Babu told the Chinese to vacate our territory where they were trying to pull up a tent. So we were always on our side of the LAC. Now the pullback is happening from both the armies. China is withdrawing, we are withdrawing. Are we withdrawing further in our own territory? Where are we withdrawing from and where are we withdrawing to? Is the buffer zone being created in the Indian territory itself? And I have 2 or 3 very, very small points to make, if you may please indulge me. There is a civilian airstrip in Nari Gunsa, which is in Depsang, that has been converted into a military airstrip by China. Why are we not reacting to that? What about the DBO sector and the Depsang sector where military structures have come in? What about patrolling point 10 and 13 where China is now creating hurdles? And what about the obstruction that China has created between finger 4 and finger 8? And why have we asked for the ITBP administrative post to be withdrawn to finger 2? These are important questions that anybody in the country will ask if you are a patriot. You would want to have answers to these questions. You can't run away from
very
these questions.
Very pertinent questions, and Dr. Patra, you must respond to these. Must respond to these. Okay, Supriya Srinath, step by step, so that I can get both Dr. Patra to respond to it politically, and then General Kulkarni to explain the significance of the questions that you have raised. Dr. Patra, you first.
See, first and foremost, whom do you believe? You believe the Indian Prime Minister, you believe the Indian Army Chief, you believe the CDS, you believe the MEA, you believe the Defence Minister. And let me tell you, line by line, verbatim, all these people have been categorical in one statement that India is in a position of strength. They have categorically mentioned that not an inch of land of India or not a single post of India has gone out of the hand of this country. And remember, it was your channel, and you and Rahul Kanwal categorically have come out with beautiful explanations as to whatever the build-up was on the side of the LAC of China. And according to the previous agreements of 1993, 1996 and 2013, even a build-up on your own side of LAC is not allowed. So when we talk of a disengagement, when we talk of in Hindi what in fact was questioned to me, hum isko hal kar lenge, means that this disengagement implies to the fact that even in your side of LAC, if you are having erection of non-permanent structures and a build-up, you need to shift that, you need to push back. We will do the same because we were also building up in our side as to what the Chinese side were doing. So we would go back, you would go back, and whatever was in the agreement of 1993, 96 and 2013 would in fact be honored. This is the question's answer. Number two, I don't understand. 4 times the word nonsense was used over here in this debate. Who is nonsense is my question. Whom do you call nonsense? Indian Army is nonsense. You mean to say the Indian Army has surrendered? Indian Army is not capable. Indian Army is not capable of defending its land. Indian Army... No, Rahul Gandhi is the biggest nonsense of this country. You know that.
Because
Rahul Gandhi is the biggest nonsense of this country. Not only a nonsense but a traitor also.
On an issue of national security.
Not only a nonsense but a traitor.
On an issue of national security, actually both Rahul Gandhi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Sambit Patra, Supriya Srinath, our entire country must be on the same page because we are taking on a China. But let me get Jen Kulkarni. Hold on. Let's avoid tutu meme. Let's avoid tutu meme. Oh, please. Can we request you all to kindly keep this civil?
I am not here to take the abuses. Allow me a few seconds. I was called nonsense on your debate, and you as an anchor, why should you be standing?
Absolutely.
Why
it has to be very civil.
Exactly. No, just a second.
I would request all my guests to keep the debate very, very civil. Keep the debate civil.
Allow me 10 seconds. Allow me 10 seconds. This lady should not behave this way. Tell her to be quiet. Lady, be quiet. Be civil. Allow me to complete. Gaurav, I would look upon you as the anchor to please manage this whole debate and allow me to complete. You shut up and allow me to complete first.
Okay,
allow me to complete, Gaurav.
Supriya.
Gaurav, just a second. I need to complete.
Yeah, let's keep this civil, please. Let's keep this civil. Okay, let's get both faders down. Let me bring in General Kulkarni. We have to keep this civil. I am sorry. We cannot allow... Our guests have to remain civil. There are people who are watching this at homes. I'm sure they would not want to watch tutu meme. General Kulkarni, are the Chinese sitting in our territory today, as Supriya Srinath was saying, especially in Pangong Tso between Finger 4 and Finger 8, the issues that she raises about the depth-sank planes, because the Prime Minister went on record to say that is not true. What's the ground position today?
Gaurav, it has a slight historical baggage which we have to understand. If we understand, supposing it was a clear LAC marked on the map, which is accepted by both the countries, by all means we would say what anybody is wanting to say, that he is transgressed or he has intruded, whichever way we want to put it across. But in this particular case, there is no LAC mark. It is all a perception. Now, my perception and the Chinese perception, at places it might match, at places it does not match. Where it does not match, now let's get point to point. Let's say Finger 4 and Finger 8, the first thing at Pangong Tso, which seems most people now understand the Finger 4 and Finger 8. Okay. Now, we have been patrolling up to Finger 8. We have been patrolling up to Finger 8. They have been patrolling up to Finger 4. Again, have you understood this? That we have been patrolling up to Finger 8. They have been patrolling up to Finger 4. That means between Finger 4 and Finger 8, both the sides have been patrolling over the years. Of late, there have been a lot of, I would say, boxing bouts between the two countries at that point of time, and the May 5th one turned a violent one. Notwithstanding that, now that they were not at Finger 4 earlier, they have now come and occupied Finger 4, but They are now being in the disengagement process. They might be going back a bit and things of those. Now the question was, if the disengagement is taking place, is the disengagement taking place on our side or their side? It is not like that. Say, let's take the case of Petrol Point 14. Now, if Petrol Point 14, we were visiting Petrol Point 14. It's a Petrol Point 14. We were visiting Petrol Point 14. They were also coming to Petrol Point 14. Now, what would happen with the disengagement taking place? We will not be going to Petrol Point 14 from a kilometer away or a kilometer and a half away. They will also not come to Petrol Point 14. They will also stay a kilometer or kilometer and a half away from it. So it is not like giving away or giving it. It's a process of disengagement which has its own nuance, and it will take time for the entire thing to stabilize. But to say, I have taken yours, you have taken mine, I think we would only be making the things a little more difficult. So if it is understood in that manner, you will find that we have not lost any post. Yes, certain areas.
General, I will let that be the last word on the show. Fair enough. You've clarified that point, and I hope when we face off with an adversary like China, whether it's the Congress or the BJP, the government or the opposition, India speaks in one voice and we keep India first.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.